Okay. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Reformed Reader, the channel where we review different forms of media through the lens of a Christian who is under the authority of the scriptures. My name is Josh, and today I am joined with a very special guest, a good friend and brother to the channel, Jordan from First Line Library, and we'll have all the little crowd going or whatever.
Hey, it's me.
Yeah. We're going to pretend like we haven't been talking for 25 minutes and and just roll on. But how have you been? How's your week been?
It's been a busy week. Yeah, it's been a busy week, but I'm glad it's the weekend. Glad
Mhm.
to be here with you, hanging out. Can't believe we're already in November.
Oh, man.
It's kind of wild to me.
I
Yeah.
recorded my monthly wrap up yesterday, and it about made me sick because I was like, oh, like this is yeah, it's disgusting that we have to that I'm putting up our Christmas tree like probably today. you know?
Yeah.
'Cause we're my kids were asking to put it up like the week before Halloween, and I'm like, okay,
Oh
look,
wow.
maybe not that quick, but we will put it up soon. And so they're like November 1st, like time to put the tree up and watch Elf, So yeah, so
Hey.
we should have hopefully we'll have a pretty good time today. So for anybody watching, Jordan and I have been talking for a little while about trying to figure out how to sync up and just do a video together, just get to chit chat and hopefully have a good time. So we were trying to come up with a good, like, what's a good excuse for us to do that? And I was like, hey, how about a book tag? And we'll just do a book tag together. And so I told Jordan we started sifting through all these different tags. None of them were really any good, or we've already done them. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to come up with my own. And what is more fitting than a DNF book tag for me? So I've got a few questions. We'll throw them back and forth to each other. See, maybe we'll have some hot takes. I know I've got a couple. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. So I'll throw question number one to you, which is, what is a book that other people love that didn't work for you?
Great question. The first one that came to mind was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by
Uh-huh.
V.E.
Yep.
Schwab. Um, Man, I wanted to like that book. The premise I thought was pretty interesting, but it just felt like it was just will she, won't she? It's
Mm.
that typical that trope. I finished it, much to my chagrin, but yeah, that book
I've got a
was
few
just
of hers, and she's super popular.
very
And so I
popular.
picked up,
Yeah,
I think it might have been the first book or something, and I got a couple chapters into it. I'm like, I don't think this is, I don't think this is for me. She's very much a
yeah.
Barnes and Noble seller. Like she's
Oh
all over
yeah,
Barnes and Noble and stuff. But I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not my thing either. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't blame you one bit.
yeah.
Let's see. All right, for me, and this one's gonna sting maybe a little. For some, it stung for me, and that's gonna be "By Blood, by Salt" by J.L. Odom.
Okay.
This one, so she won, what is it, the SPFBO or whatever it is, just like the
Hmm.
self-published thing. She won, I think, by default, and there was some contention there or some. I don't really know a lot of the background, but I've talked to her quite a bit, and
Hmm.
this it's not poorly written. It is well written. It's a good
Okay.
story. It just wasn't my thing. And I didn't want I try to leave a review for every book that I read. And I just have it completely unbiased, and I do like maybe a slight exception if it's self-published, because like if I give Sanderson a negative review or something, it's not going to hurt his sales at all. And that's like, I get that. And more power to you, but I don't want to give a negative review, or even like probably worse is a mid review on
Hmm.
a self-published book, because they put a lot of time, effort, and money into these. So this is one that I was just like, at the time I got to it and it wasn't for me, but I think I'm going to come back to it. I know a lot of people have loved it, but they said it's like military fantasy, which I got probably 60% of the way through. And then I just caught myself not ever picking it back up or really wanting to. And I don't think it was an issue with the book. I think it was an issue with me. And it really stinks because it was supposed to be a buddy read with like a bunch of guys like Preacher and
Oh
Matt,
man,
or go read
bummer.
books and stuff. Yeah, but I didn't feel too bad because it took Preacher, I think, like 4 or 5 months to read it. So I was like, well, I'm behind too. They're like, how behind? I'm like, I haven't picked it up in 4 months. So
Wow.
it's it's I want to come back to it. I've got to talk to her. Just not like record it or anything. And she is
Mhm.
awesome. She's super cool. And we've nerded out a little bit because she's really into jujitsu, which I am too. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
her battle scenes are super good. But it just fell at a weird time because I just DNF'd like 3 or 4 books. And so I'm
Mhm.
kind of like in a slump. And then I'm reading something
Yeah.
that doesn't grip me. And so then I'm just like, I just need to take a break from reading for a little while. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, that one kind of caught me maybe at the wrong time. So I do want to come back to it. I just don't really know when.
Yeah. All right. So our next question here is, what was your most disappointing DNF of the year?
Oh, this one's easy for me. This one is Morning Star by Pierce Brown. Man, that one
Oh
stunk.
man.
That not that the book stunk, but it stunk because of how invested I was in it.
Yeah.
Loved Red Rising. It was probably like in the running for book of the year, and then Red Golden Sun, and I thought it was better, or at
Wow.
least as good. And so I was like, man, these books live up to the hype. And
Yeah.
I had some friends, some Christian brothers, who were like, "Hey, we know that you have some pretty heavy convictions about things. Just know going into it, and like with some same sex stuff." And it
Mhm.
made sense for the story. Because it's supposed to be like society broken down. And so you have like the most
Mhm.
hedonistic society. And so,
Yeah.
they told me like, if you can get through book 1, I think you'll be fine. And so I read book 1, and yeah, it was present, but it wasn't affronting, I guess, to me at all, because
Yeah.
it made sense for what it was like. It wasn't glorifying anything. It was just like, this is how society is, and this is
Right.
why. And it wasn't like, ooh, the society is hedonistic and so they're gay. It wasn't that. It
Yeah.
was like,
Right.
because that was such a small part. It was like society is hedonistic, and so people are starving to death and all this stuff.
Mhm.
And while other people are not just prospering, but they're throwing food out and all the, it's that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
again, it really made sense until book 3, where there's this big battle scene. I got like 90% of the way through it. There's this big battle scene, and right in like at the end of the battle, some side character that was completely inconsequential, that did not come up until this book, she was like, "Let me tell you about my dead brother's gay fiance." And I'm like, "What?" It was just like a hard stop in the middle of the
Well, let's
story too.
pivot to this
Yeah,
for
yeah,
no
and then
reason.
and then I asked a couple guys, I'm like, "Hey, this is kind of weird. Does it pertain to the story?" And they're like, "No, it doesn't. It's just one of those things." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Come on!" And so I just got frustrated with it, and so I put it
Mhm.
down for like 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, if I feel the need to come back to it, I will, and I'll move past it or whatever. And
Mhm.
it just, every time I picked it up, I'm like, it just kind of made me ill, because I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
I don't want virtue signaling to me either. I'm
Right.
reading a book because I've, had a rough day at work or whatever. I just want to escape into this world and be told a good story without being preached at one way or the other.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
that one was definitely my heaviest for the year. What about you?
Honestly, I have not officially DNF'd a book
Mm,
this year. Um, uh, should I have? Probably. There's definitely I've started several books that I've quote unquote soft DNF'd, where
mm-hmm,
I've just set it aside because
mm-hmm,
I was reading 4 books at the same time. I was like, okay, let me just stick with this one, and I'll eventually
mm,
get back to this. But
yeah,
it wasn't for you know, uh, you know, I was upset with the book or I just didn't like the
yeah,
book. It was just like I had to pick one and stick with it. So I
yes,
haven't
yeah,
officially DNF'd a book this year, which is pretty surprising. I usually have at least one a year,
mm-hmm, yeah.
but
Yeah, the soft DNFs are a little, they're a little funnier, but they also sting a little more, because like, why didn't I finish that
hmm
book? You'll sit there,
yeah,
you'll look at,
yeah, I'll have it like sitting somewhere else in the
mhm.
house, and I'm like, why is that there? Oh yeah, I got like 3 chapters into it, and then I just couldn't get invested into it because I had
Yeah,
1,100-page book that I wanted to get through.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So
While working and being a husband and doing all of the
yeah,
other things. And so it's
yeah,
like, so do I really want to be, invested in 2 or 3 books at a time?
yeah.
Especially one that doesn't great. Yeah. The soft DNFs, I think are, uh, I I think I get picked on by few people. Sam is one in particular. He'll pick on me about, like just hardcore DNF in a book, but it's
Yeah.
because like I used to soft DNF stuff all the time, and
Mhm.
now I've just sort of kind of have made myself make up my mind about whether or not I'm going to continue. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to get rid of it, but it very
Mhm.
well may mean that I come back to it. Like I've gushed about James Allington's
Mhm.
Lycanius trilogy. Absolutely love
Yeah.
the first book. I read the second book, and it was just like I jumped right into it from book one. That was probably a mistake. The time I was reading it, it was probably not the best time. I had circumstances going around in real life that were distracting me and stuff. And then it was just not really gripping me like the first one did, because it was really setting up book three, which I found out like this week. Apparently, he wanted to break it up into 4 books. Anyway,
Okay.
so, and it would have made more sense that way. And so I'm reading through book two, and that's the way I was. I was just like, why am I not reading this? And then it was like a month went by, and I was like, you know what? I am just going to read a synopsis and figure out what happened and see if it helps me out. And because I don't care to get spoiled, and then I'll go back in and read it myself. But I was like,
Mhm.
meh.
Yeah.
So I just put it down, and I was like, I think I just need to restart it and come back to it later. But it was because of that book in particular that now if I'm sitting there with the book for a little bit and it's not gripping me, I'll just like, no, I'm just gonna put it on the chopping block. I'll leave it on my shelf and see if I want to come back to it. And if it's been a year and I have no desire to reach for it off my shelf, then maybe I'll pitch it to somebody else.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I should do that more often. If it's not gripping me,
Mm.
just move on. Put it aside. Don't get rid of it. Don't sell it. Don't donate it.
Yeah.
Put it back on the shelf.
Yeah.
Move on to something else, and it'll always be there to go back to. But I'm like, I start to finish. It's like the same thing with watching a movie. I can't not
Mm.
finish the movie, even
Oh
if
yeah, me too.
it's just
Yeah.
terrible.
Oh
I need to
man.
know. I need to see the end.
Here's a squirrel moment, and I'm gonna have several of these probably. But the other night I wanted to watch, like had finished a book and I wanted to watch something. I was like, I just kind of want a good, maybe creepy-esque movie or something. The kids were going to
Mhm.
bed, my wife was reading, and so I pulled up one of our apps or whatever, and it was called, I think it's called Ascension or something like that. It's Anthony Mackie, and it says by the
Okay.
creators of what's it called? Quiet Place. There we go. And so
Okay.
I watched the trailer, and it was very had a lot of that A Quiet Place feel to it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh
Yeah.
man, I'm gonna love this. And they're like, yeah, but whatever these monsters are, they can't go past a certain elevation. I'm like, okay, that's
Okay.
interesting. I'll turn it on. And dude, it was horrible. It was straight dog water. It was so bad. And I
Man.
hated it. It was so bad that I felt bad for Anthony Mackie, because you could tell
Yeah.
his acting was good. He was just struggling. And so by the end of the movie, my wife had come in there because I'm watching it on my computer with headphones or something,
Mhm.
and she was like, "That looks terrible." I said, "It is." And she said,
It
"Why are
is.
you watching it?" So I started it.
It's
And
exactly like, I
I got
started. I can't
yeah.
turn it off.
Now at least maybe I'll get a good laugh. Well, here's like a tangential question. Maybe I should have
Mhm.
asked.
Okay.
Is there a book on your shelf that you can think of or that comes to mind that you have no intention of reading?
Oh man, that is a good question. Um, if you'd asked me maybe 3 to 6 months ago, there's probably 60 to 100 because that's about how many books I have offloaded from my shelves. I kid you not, it's been probably close to 100 books that I've over the last 6 months that I've just pulled off the shelf. I'm like, I'm never gonna read this, like never. um, Honestly, I don't know the specific books, but I was acquiring a lot of Stephen King books just
Hmm.
from the thrift store,
Yep.
and they were like first edition hardcovers too that I was
Hmm.
paying like $2 for. It's like, oh,
Yep.
I'll get that. But I the last time I went through, I'm like, I think I had a stack of 10 of them. I'm like, I'm never gonna read these.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
way more popular his books that I haven't read yet that I would rather get to first.
Yep.
These are like the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, yeah.
you
It's
know,
all the
these are like,
you find Hearts in Atlantis, you find was
mhm.
that Buick 88 or whatever it is, and
Yeah,
all
from a BK. Yep,
Rose Madder, those like are all the
yep,
ones you find in the thrift store.
yep.
I did the same thing last week. I cleared this bookshelf off behind me, and I think I had 40 something books, and I had a stack of
Yeah.
Stephen King, which I don't even know. Like I didn't even the one Stephen King book I read, I wasn't even a fan of, and so I pulled all those off my shelf and turned them into a used bookstore, and they gave me like, let's see, I think it was like $120 credit or something like. And
Wow,
their books
nice.
and their used bookstores are like $2. So I actually took
Yeah.
my wife yesterday. We go and I'm like, hey, they had a big Christian romance section, which is what she loves. I'm
Okay.
like, go and
Okay.
just to your heart's content. And so me and
Have
my
fun.
kids went to this other area, and she comes back and she's like, is this okay? I'm like, it's fine.
That's more.
It was like, I'm pretty sure we just brought in more books than I got rid of, but it's
Yeah,
perfectly fine. At least you'll be busy.
that's
Okay.
great.
All right. I think it is my turn. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Here's one. So, what has been the most disappointing DNF of all time?
Um, good question. I think Mistborn, Brandon Sanderson,
Oh,
the
hot
first,
take.
yeah. So I bought the mass market copy
Mm-hmm.
several years ago, because I kept hearing like similarities to the video game Dishonored.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever played that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I just need to jump into Brandon Sanderson. Everyone's talking about the Stormlight Archive. Maybe this is the perfect place to go to. That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't do that. I read the Way of Kings, and I loved it. And they're like, okay, well, I have Mistborn here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll just go to a smaller book of his. I tried 3 times to get through that book, and I think I got maybe 20, 30 pages in, and I just don't know what it was about it. I just could not get through it at all. I even like went so far as like, okay, let me buy the new trade paperback
Mm-hmm.
editions
Yep.
that they put out, the real floppy ones. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna make me like want to read this book more. Nope, I never picked it up. I just got rid of those two. My sister-in-law is
Mm-hmm.
interested in them. So I just gave her all 3 of those books a few weeks ago. So yeah, Mistborn is definitely the most disappointing DNF of all time. Um,
That one's definitely like, I think so too. I think it's way overhyped because that was,
mhm,
you hear everybody on YouTube say like that's the series that got me back into reading, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, cool, and I picked it up, and I was like, I mean, it's pretty good, I guess it's fine. But then everybody was like, wait till book 3. That's when
yeah,
somebody says that, it kind of makes
like,
me, yeah, it's like I'm like, okay, well, I just finished book 1 and I wasn't crazy, and you're not telling me a lot about book 2. So I read book 2, Well of Ascension, and it was, I
mhm,
thought it was a step down, but it wasn't, it wasn't bad. I was like, I guess, I mean, I don't, at this time, I wasn't really reading a lot. So I was like, I guess I'll just read the third one because what else am I supposed to do?
right,
And I read the third one and I get to the end and everybody's like, the ending just blows your mind the way he ties everything together. I was like, yeah, it was
okay,
okay. It was
fair
fun. I
enough.
was like, I think the concept was really cool. I think
Yeah,
the world building was really cool. I
yeah,
I I thought Vin was just like a brooding, spoiled brat,
mm,
which kind of didn't make a lot of sense to me because she was like that street urchin. You would think that she would be more appreciative of everything than she kind of seemed to be. Because as soon as she got
yeah.
thrust into that, like the royalty side, she was like, "Good day, sir."
Look at
It's like,
me.
yeah, yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't my favorite either. So yeah, maybe there's some consolation there.
Yeah. I mean, I think just from the I don't know what comes first, the prelude or the prologue in The Way of Kings. Either one, those first like page and a half, that
Hmm.
gripped me
Yeah,
from there. And
where
Mistborn
it's
didn't
talking
do
about the
that.
swords and
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It
That's
just it gripped me, and Mistborn
mhm,
definitely didn't do that for me. So
yeah.
that might have been why. But Yeah.
Mistborn is
The-
an easier sell. I get it because they're so much
Yeah.
thinner. But if you hand somebody Way of Kings, you're like, wait till book 4 or whatever, you know what? You got
Yeah.
6 of these coming, and really he's not done or whatever. And like, yeah. So
Yeah.
that trilogy is easier. I think I've got a hot take about Mistborn, and it's that I think that because I read the whatever the sequel series,
Mhm.
and everybody just tears that to shreds. And
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about the first book. I mean, everybody says, I'm trying to remember if it's Shadows Upon Self. I think that's what it's called. It's the second one out of the 4 books. And everybody's like, that's
Mhm.
the worst one. And it was the best Mistborn book that I had read because it
Oh,
had
wow.
some crazy character depth in there. And you had to have all that stuff before it that
Yeah.
built it up. But there was like the end of that book was one of my favorite endings that he has ever done. And everybody's like, oh, that was terrible. I'm like, what are you guys reading these for? Anyway. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can concur.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. What is a genre that you tend to stay away from?
Let's see. I guess I kind of got 2. One's an easy one. It's romance. I mean, I think that's probably going to be a pretty common answer, which is why I tried to give 2. I will say I like romance in my stories. I think it needs to be done well. And I think that most of the time when I really appreciate it, it's not at the forefront. So I do like romance in my books when it's done well. But I think that it tends to be kind of rare in fantasy. I'll
Yeah.
say somebody that I really think did it well. Robin Hobb did it. I've only read her first trilogy, the Farseer trilogy,
Mhm.
and the romance in there is, I think it's like superb. It's probably some of the best romance that I've ever read, and it's not
Okay.
like necessarily wooing each other, but she does such a good job of articulating emotion with like the female psyche a little bit. So it kind of
Mhm.
gives you like most of the time, I would just hopefully this doesn't come across as crude for anybody watching, but like if you read Jim Butcher and he tells you
Yeah.
what Harry Dresden's thoughts are, I mean, people are going to slam Jim Butcher for that, but he's not necessarily wrong. If you've got
Yeah.
a 35, 40-year-old bachelor, that's kind of, I mean, he's pretty accurate. And so,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but Robin Hobb sort of, because she's a woman, but she's writing
Mhm.
from the perspective of a man. First of all, she did a very good job, but the romance was completely different because it sort of gave me insight
Mhm.
into the way that women think.
Yeah.
As far as the romance, it's a much less of the physical. It's a lot more of the emotional and psychological stuff. And so she dove into that. And so as I'm reading it, I actually looked at my wife. I'm like, hey, read this passage for me and tell me if that's kind of what. And she was like, yeah, that's pretty close. And so that
Yeah.
was cool to get to see that. But so I would say romance, but if I can't pick that, then I would say probably grimdark.
Okay.
I'm not a big grimdark guy. I do like I like some darker sides of stories. I just don't want us to like jump the shark as far as that goes. Like I just finished Lost Boy with written by
Mhm.
Christina Henry. It's the Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Man, that book was dark, but it was super good.
Yeah.
It is wild. It's wicked, but it is really good. But that's probably about my threshold. And so Zachary Shea mentioned it to me. He's like, man, I
Mhm.
really think you're going to like this. And so I was on the fence, finally read it, loved it. And then he's like, now she has a whole series of those where it's like Alice in Wonderland, Little
Oh, okay.
Mermaid, Beauty and the
Yeah.
Beast. And they're all like this dark version. He goes, don't read those. And I was like, okay, well, why not? He's like, he's like, I'm a dark, like, I like the dark books. He likes R.
Mhm.
Scott Baker and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
yeah, and he was like, and these were pretty dark for me. He's like, I'm just
Okay.
telling you, you're not. So I was like, okay. So grimdark isn't necessarily my thing. I think it can be like anything. If it's done well, it's done tactfully,
Mhm.
and it's not done for the sake of being explicit or provocative, then
Mhm.
like I'm on board. But if you're just being gratuitous, and that's with anything, like I don't want gratuitous
Yeah.
anything in there.
Right.
But yeah, if you're doing that, it's probably not for me. And that seems to be kind of common. I think after George R. R. Martin got popular, everybody's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna write some dirty stuff." You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, you can do without it, but that's that's okay. What about you? What do you have a genre you
Um,
stay away from?
I mean, yeah, I think romance is definitely the main one, but I think kind of tying into that is like the YA fantasy,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of romance in there, and I think, unfortunately, I think YA fantasy really bleeds into the romanticy stuff, and I don't really like that.
You didn't like Fourth Wing? I'm just kidding.
No, I read maybe 2 pages of that, and I thought it was just trash. Even before you even get to the other
Yeah,
stuff.
the good
Um,
stuff.
yeah, but I think unfortunately there is a bleed through the more adult
Mhm,
romanticy and romance, and then the YA stuff.
mhm.
And unfortunately, it's getting into younger readers' hands.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, not that I've ever really read any of that. I think just the idea of it really just makes me stay away from it, or not
yeah.
even wanting to promote it in any way.
Well, that's somebody was telling me. I thought I had it here. It must be on my bookshelf in the other room. But A.M. Wiley, those the Weird
Hmm.
Space. I read The
Yeah.
Heart Taker this past
Okay.
month, and it was great. I really liked it. There was like right there at the beginning because I had assumed we were kind of back in the 80s, just the way it
Hmm.
the cover and everything. And so
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like the first chapter, I mean, it's like he does not pull punches. And so all of a sudden you're like, what just happened? And then at the end of the chapter, it says, and he grabs his cell phone to call somebody. I was like, okay, like that threw me because I'm sitting there thinking like he's having to run to the phone booth to call the police or something, the way
Oh yeah.
everything else was described. And then he threw a cell phone in there and I'm like, okay, hold on. I need to just sort of readjust my perspective. But I got told like right after I had posted my review for that on Goodreads or something, they're like, "Yeah, it was a great YA book." And I'm like, "It
Mm,
was YA?" And so I messaged Andrew. I'm like, "Is
yeah.
this a YA book?" And he was like, "I mean, technically, I guess, because it's for younger audiences." I would not throw that in this category because normally when
Yeah.
I'm thinking YA, I'm thinking like love triangles and that,
Hmm.
but he's like, no, they just threw it in YA pretty much because it's like it is based around young adults. I'm like, yeah, but Weird Space
Sure.
isn't. And he's like, yeah, but I don't care. He's like, I don't care as long as somebody reads it and likes it. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Fair
the
enough. Fair
attitude I
enough.
have. All right. All right, quit. I think it's your go. Question 5. Yes.
All right. What is a book you finished that you probably should have DNF'd?
We kind of talked around it, but it's gonna be Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's the first and only Stephen King book that I've read. I had been hearing a lot about him, you know. This was, I guess, it was on release day, so it's been 3 or 4 years ago now. I think it might have been 2020 when it came
Hmm.
out. But I had a few people who were like gifting me books and things, and it was one of them, and there's a few others, and I'm like, I don't know because I've heard about his endings and all this stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so maybe this will be very middle of the road. It's not horror because I'm not a big horror guy.
Hmm.
I like some horror elements, but I'm
Hmm.
like strictly horror. It's not necessarily for me. So I was like, well, maybe this will be that happy medium because they said it's his take on fantasy. And so I
Yeah.
read the first half of that book and it was so good. Like this just the everyday living in Maine
Hmm.
because that's the only state he can ride in apparently. But
Or Colorado.
yeah, yes, yes, that is true. Um, but that story about the main character and his
Hmm.
mom and his relationship, all that stuff was great. The
Yeah.
relationship with the old man was fantastic.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, he finds the portal, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh man, this is about to be great. And it just was not for me. It was like it wasn't poorly written, but all of the
Yeah.
things that he tends to like laser focus on are none of the
Hmm.
things that I'm interested in. So as a for instance, like I tried Dark Tower. It's been a long time ago. It was before I really even got into reading, and I got like 100 pages into the first book, and I thought the setting was super cool, and his description of it was not overtly elaborate. It was just like he's in a desert, and here we go. But then there's this like monstrous type character that he runs into that vomits, and he spent, and I'm not kidding, like a page and a half describing that. I'm like, you hold on a second, you couldn't describe the setting, you can't describe what the tower looked like and all that, you can't describe our main character, but you want to describe, you know, this, like what? And that's sort of what it felt like with when he went into that portal. Is I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. And I'm not saying he didn't describe it, but he spent so much more time on the grotesque disfigurements of people and like sort of that kind of stuff than the actual setting. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Anyway, so and then there's like a whole gladiator type section, and he just kind of skimmed over it. I'm like, the whole you're leading them up to fighting. And then it would be like watching Gladiator and then skipping the Coliseum scenes. It's essentially how I felt, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what in the world? Well, I said I'd read it. And so I finished it. I'm like, that was a book that I read.
Yeah. I think a lot of Stephen King, I have to pair with the audiobook. And Fairy Tale, I actually really enjoyed Fairy Tale.
Really?
It definitely had its slog during the second half of the book, and I think it wrapped up neatly at the end. But I think for those points where he does tend to focus on the thing you wouldn't think he would focus on, that's when the audiobook really kind of picks up the slack and the pace, if you will, really kind of to push you through it. Because I just started book 2, The Dark Tower, and I'm like, it's like 35% through it. He's just talking about this character that, you know, about cocaine. I'm like, well, obviously you were writing this while you're on cocaine, but you know, it's like, are we gonna get anywhere? There's so much talk about cocaine in this book. Are we gonna get somewhere? Yeah, so I totally understand how you felt about Fairy Tale. I was raving to my sister-in-law, and she started it. She got to the exact same spot, and she was like, "I'm done with it."
Well,
I really enjoy the relationship.
If you would have just, if he would have just written a story, if he wouldn't have made it fantastical, I think it would have been like a top tier book for me. If he would just focused on his relationship with his dad and the old man, or even if he learned about this other world, like third hand or whatever from I would have been in for that. And then he could have set up, you know, a whole series or whatever just about that world. But it did feel like, okay, once he went down the rabbit hole, it kind of wasn't what I was hoping for. And I think if I remember right, I can't remember if it was Mike or somebody had said that that Stephen King was interviewed, and he was like, yeah, I kind of got bored with it. Well, you know, don't publish it until it's done then. You know, he's like, I just kind of wrote an ending. I'm like, that seems to be a common thread, you know?
Yeah, definitely hit or miss author for me, honestly. Even though there's quite a few of his books that I do really like, it's really hit or miss, which leads into my, mine. Elevation, which is I think one of his shortest books, and he wrote it a little later in his career. And it was like, I think I read it around Thanksgiving last year because that's kind of like where it takes place in the story, and it just went nowhere. There was a little bit of plot in there, and it just fizzled out so quickly for it being, you know, maybe 100 pages. I should have just tossed this after the first page. And there was a couple characters in there, you know, they were, you know, same sex couple. It like pertains to the plot a little bit, but like it really didn't have to be in there for the story to happen. It was just there for like have a controversial issue in town, you know. I think it could have been done differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh, definitely, same thing. It started off in this spot, and then part way through, it just went
Mm.
off the
Yeah.
trail so
Yep.
quick. Even for it being such a short book, I should have just not finished it. There was like zero redeeming qualities about it.
I'm glad. I'm kind of glad that both of ours were Stephen King, though.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it's like, it is what it
like I
is. It's
said,
fine.
it's very very hit or miss for me.
Well, apparently, I mean, I'm, some hillbilly in Alabama sitting here scrutinizing his work, and he's making a living writing books or whatever. So apparently,
Yeah,
they hit for some people, but
sure.
yeah, I don't think necessarily he's the author for me. My brother loves him, and so he's
Yeah.
like, oh, you need to read this and this and this. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
oh,
There's other
great,
stuff.
yeah, right,
There's
okay.
thousands of other books.
I've got all right. So, what is your worst habit as a reader?
Ooh, easy. Starting too many books at once. I that is my worst quality as a book lover, is picking up one book, reading a few chapters, setting it down, picking up another book, even the same day. Even the same day, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to start reading this.
Yeah,
I really am a mood reader. So,
yeah.
in the morning, I'm like, okay, I need something that's just very
Mhm.
chill. But by the time I get home from work, I need something that's like fast paced and super gripping.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think at one point I had maybe 6 or 7 books going out at the same time. A couple audiobooks, and
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
rest. Like, I tried to have like one audiobook, one physical, and
Mhm.
one book on my Kindle for
Mhm.
like different times of the day or whatever. But it just snowballs and snowballs into
I
having too
mean,
many.
me and you were talking it might have been sometime. I think it was a few months ago. But anyway,
Mhm.
you're telling me how long it was taking you to get through one of the Faithful and the Fallen books. It was like 2 or 3, I can't
Oh
remember.
yeah,
You said, and I said, yeah, I'm thinking about starting that maybe sometime next year. And you said maybe we'll be caught up at the same time. I
yeah.
was like,
They're right behind me, and I'm
yeah,
still only on the third book.
yeah.
I'm like
I,
a quarter of the
so
way in.
I'm like I'm that way, and because I am, I know that like sometimes, like with Sun Eater in particular, because it's such
Mhm.
a deep read, and you really kind of need to
Yes.
chew on it a little bit. That I'm the kind of guy normally where I would take my time with that, but I know that if I do that, I'm going to get lost in the weeds and that it'll never get done. So I actually, with Sun Eater, I tend to it's my audio and my physical and my
Mm.
ebook read, and I just like
Yeah.
blaze through it as quick as I can, just because I'm like, okay, I'm going to consume all this, and then I'll think about it later, and then maybe collect my thoughts. But yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. Let's see, mine. I put two. One of them is one of my bad habits is that I buy physical books and I pretty much only read ebooks.
Yeah.
like I've been bashed so hard, but like it's just so convenient for me to have my Kindle. I had
Yeah.
started out reading on my iPad, and it was really
Mhm.
wearing on my eyes, and
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't even
same.
think about it until Mike was on Mike's book reviews. He was
Mhm.
like, he said the same thing, and he was like, I'm telling you, a Kindle will change your life. And so probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, you know what? I've got some gift cards and stuff. I'm gonna do it. And so I picked one up and just have not looked back. It's so much easier. I've got all of my books with me at all times.
Yeah.
And your audiobooks, if you have Audible, they sync with where
They
you're
do,
at and
yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Or you can even download your
Mhm.
audiobooks to your Kindle, So I'm like, yeah, that's a bad habit of mine, is I'm like, ooh, shiny book, ooh, special edition that I'm never gonna open. But I
Yeah.
do, but I know Bezos, and I know he's gonna he's gonna whoop and pull that right out of my Kindle one day, or he's gonna
Yes.
want to edit it, because it's not
Mhm.
culturally appropriate or whatever.
Yep.
And so I was
Mhm.
just like, I want a physical copy that cannot be taken away from me, and I like the way it looks on my shelf, and
Mhm.
it's honestly like a catalog for myself. And
Yeah.
as musician nerds, like
Mhm.
I tell people something similar when they ask about starting to learn to play guitar or drum or whatever it is. They're like, what instrument should I buy? And I tell them, I'm like, whichever one is going to cause you to pick it up and play it. Right. It's
Right.
whichever one, as silly as it sounds, but you play with your eyes first. And people think that sounds ridiculous, but that's how we describe food. They're like, well, you eat with your eyes first. Well, it's the same with musical instruments. It's the same with books for me. It's like, if I see this pretty cover back here, it's going to encourage me to pick it up and to read it, to get through it. So that's part of it. Another one that I have is that I almost always, and I mean, almost always, I get bored at the 50% mark. I just, like I will be having a just, grand old time in whatever the story is. And for some reason at the 50% mark, I'm just like, I need a break tonight. I'm going to watch it. Let's watch a show. Let's watch YouTube or whatever. Let's watch a movie. And then 3 days go by and I haven't read anything. And I'm just, it's, my wife's like, your brother is right. Cause my brother has told me he got tested for ADD, earlier last year, I think. And he told me, he was like, hey, I'm going to get tested. And I said, okay, great. He's like, just not because he wanted medication. He just wanted to know.
Yeah.
And so he called me back after his appointment. I'm like, how'd it go? He was like, don't go get tested because you definitely have it.
Oh, no.
He was like, because like all the things that they asked me were not, do you get easily distracted? Like all the common things. It's like, do you make impulse purchases? Do you find yourself talking too much and not being able to be quiet? Do you find yourself being awkward in social, environments? Or do you find yourself having a difficult time? Like, for instance, like with us, if I said, hey, let's get on a chat. And then for 3 days, I'm sitting here worried about, oh, man, do I even really want to do that? He's like, dude, you have it so hard. Don't go get tested. And so it's like, I think something in my mind is just broken. I'm like the 50% mark. I'm like, well, I read half the book. That's pretty good. At least for a while. So that's why normally it's something about it on my Kindle too. When I'm looking at the percentage bar, if I can get to the 60% mark, it's telling me like, it shows me that I'm teetering over. And I will normally, even with like a big thick book, like a Sun Eater book or something, if I get to the 60% mark, I'll normally finish the rest of the book the next day. It's just something in my head that's like, hey, 50% mark, slow your roll. I don't know why, but it's a horrible habit.
Oh man. What is a book that you almost DNF'd, but you're glad you finished?
Just to be on brand here, it's Empire of Silence.
Okay.
That one was I bought Empire of Silence when it was before, I think it was before Kingdoms of Death came out. So it was like when Mike maybe. Yeah, it was like way back because I saw the cover, and the cover for me, it's one of my favorite covers. I just think it looks so cool. And I'm a sucker for purple too. I was like, oh man, because you don't see purple covers very often. And I was like, that thing popped. So I picked it up, and I think I resold book one like 6 times because I'd pick it up. And then it was crazy because I'd pick it up and I'd be like, maybe not. And so I was sort of on the fence for a few years. And then I got like maybe a couple of chapters into it. Finally, it would have been almost 2 years ago, I guess. And I was just like, I don't think this is going to be for me. And like the next day, I guess they were out of print or something. It was sometime soon. And so the prices on eBay went from, $20 to being like $200-300. I'm like, whoa. And so I was like, hey, does anybody want my copy? Because I'll sell it at a discount. I'm like, I won't sell it to you for $300, but I'll take $100 if you, and it sold instantly. And so then I started going to the Barnes and Nobles and Books a Millions, any of them that I could find, and seeing if I can find the hardcovers because they just weren't selling. And I would buy them for $15 on discount and turn around and resell them for close to $100 each one. And so I was like, man, this is great. Like, it's a little side money. And then finally I was like, I guess I'll read it because Sam keeps pestering me about it. And then Matt over at Go Read Books, he's like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, he's like, for me, he said, I think he said it's the greatest sci-fi story he thinks has ever been told apart from Star Wars. And I was like, oh,
wow.
I was like, okay, so and then I struggled with it, but I'm glad I got through it
Yeah.
because the parts that I struggled with, like I probably shouldn't have, and I was just coming off of like a DNF like slog, I guess, and
Yeah,
so
I
I
remember
got gun
watching
shy.
yeah, I remember
Yeah.
watching your videos. You're like, "Oh, here's another one I DNF'd. Here's another one I DNF'd."
Dude, that was a hard. So like, I think it was maybe into February through about April. It was
Mhm.
just one right after the other. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, and then so after I do one, it's like I'm just like constantly I got my guard up the whole time,
Yeah.
and then I'm almost on like a witch hunt to keep from reading or finishing books and suck the joy out
Mhm.
of it. But I am glad that I finished it because I'm about 30% of my way through Disquiet Gods right now. And
Oh, wow,
you
okay.
so you're in Demon and White, right?
I just wrapped up Demon and White,
Oh, really?
a
What'd you
week and a
think?
half ago. I I think I liked Howling Dark a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it might just be Demon and White was a little too long for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there were some pacing, issues for me, but I do like how he ends is, like, just bombastic, and it really propels you into the next book.
Yes. Yes. Get
So
ready for Kingdoms of Death.
yeah, actually, I bought it because I'm trying to buy the UK covers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, they're
'Cause I
cool.
really like the art style on that. I
Mm-hmm.
got it in um, earlier this week, and the whole like almost the entire front cover was ripped off, and I was like, okay, well, I got to send this back. And I'm like trying to get the on the Libby app
Mm-hmm.
from the library, trying to get the audiobook of it, and it's backlisted for so long. So
Yes.
Sun Eater's on pause for right now because
Yeah.
I was really trying to see if I could get caught up,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't think it's going to happen, and I'm okay with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
really do enjoy the series, and I don't know if I want to just like blow through it
I
right
know.
away.
That's me too. So that's what my plan was to do like one a month. And I was
Hmm.
supposed to finish Disquiet Gods this past month. And I was like, I kind of realized I'm going, look, I'm putting stipulations on myself. Nobody
Hmm.
else is. And so
Yeah,
if I say that I'm going to read something, I don't have to. And it's literally just
yeah,
me reading books. So it's like,
yeah.
maybe don't take it super serious. And so I was like, I'm not ready for that. I'm having fun with these one-offs. Like when I mean, this past month it's been my best reading month by far because every
Hmm.
book was great. Like I think I started off with Larry Correa's Academy of Outcasts, and then I did These Silent Woods. I did Lost Boy. I did I can't. There's two or three other ones. It's like the short books, and they just they
Hmm.
hit just. Heart Taker by A.M. Wiley, and
Uh-huh.
then I read Sledge versus the Labyrinth, and that one stunk that I DNF'd it, but
Hmm.
because it was so good.
Yeah.
What I read was great, which I have my little wrap up video that it'll be coming
Hmm.
out tomorrow. It was hilarious because Sam texted me and he said, "Hey, are you on Twitter?" And I said, "I mean, I am, but I don't really get on there."
Hmm.
And he was like, "Well, your review is getting roasted by the author." And so I go and
Oh
look, dude,
man.
it was so funny. It was like, so I get on there and it was like, "Sorry, Sledge hit too hard for you, you weakling." And the comments were
Wow.
savage. They were super funny, right?
Wow.
So I was like, do I comment or do I not? Because in my review, like he
Yeah.
just shared my Goodreads review. I didn't star
Okay.
rate it. I normally one star my DNFs, and that's
Hmm.
like I don't I normally try not to if it's an
Hmm.
indie published
Yeah.
author. So I was just like, I'm not gonna rate it just so I don't mess up your rating system. But
Yeah.
I'm going to review it for anybody that's interested. And so I was like, yeah, the language got super heavy at one point, and I tried to switch to audio, and it made it worse. um,
Yeah.
I was in the shower and I turned it on and I got out and my wife's like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, nothing anymore."
No, nothing, nothing.
Yeah. And so
We're
I
done.
commented on his post and I was like, "Hey, first and foremost, these are hilarious. Like I'm so here for
Mhm.
it. I love getting roasted." And second of all, I actually really enjoyed your book. I just couldn't bring myself to finish it due to some like personal convictions that I have. And he
Yeah.
he messaged me privately. He's like, "You jerk! Now I can't even roast you." He's like, "You're being too nice." I'm like, "No, please do. It's funny." But yeah, that's that.
That's hilarious.
So I will say, when you get to, I kind of agree with you with Demon in White. I thought the way Sam described it to me, because he's sort of prefaced each one for me. He's like, "Hey, let me set
Okay.
the stage for you a little."
Yeah.
And so when he told me about Demon in White, he said, because I had similar feelings. He was like, "Keep me updated as you're reading it."
Hmm.
And I was like, "Yeah, it seems a little slow here." He goes, "Well, he's writing it in arcs, and so there's like
Hmm.
3 separate arcs in Demon in White." And I'm like,
Yeah, I can
"Okay,
see that.
yeah, that makes sense." There was a couple things that I wasn't super satisfied with.
Hmm.
Um, to avoid spoilers, like the assassination attempt, how that
Hmm.
wrapped up. I was like, it's a
Yeah.
conclusion, but it kind of felt meh to me, you know? And
Like, let's just get into this other this other
yeah,
part is kind of
yeah.
how it
And
felt. Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool, I guess, you know. The catch scene was really cool.
Mm, yeah.
That was
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
But I will tell you, when you get to Ashes of Man,
Yeah.
there's, you know, those big endings that you're talking about, dude.
Hmm.
Ashes of Man is, you're gonna be
Okay.
like, oh, what? Because I sat there and I mean, I think it's actually a pretty unpopular opinion, but right now it's my favorite, and it's kind of
Okay.
not close. The end of that book, because Rockio tends, for me, seems like his writing is a little um I don't want to say segregated, but it's like detached almost
Hmm.
emotionally. Like when he's writing
Okay.
Hadrian, it's like, here are the facts. And, you know, he
Right.
talks
Yeah.
about Volca and some of these
Hmm.
relationship type things, but it's never really emotionally explored.
Hmm.
And he hit all those notes in Ashes of Man. And I was sitting
Okay.
there like, you know, I'm finishing
You
it, dude. When you get to the end, I'm like,
okay.
how do you go up from here? But anyway, yeah, I
Yeah.
digress. But it's just, let me know when you finish it, because I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
I want to know
Absolutely.
what your thoughts. Kingdoms of Death, I had a similar experience with the detractor I had with Kingdoms of Death was, it lives up to its name, and at like the big impactful scene in the book, it was, I literally got to it. I listened to it on my commute to work, and a lot of stuff was going on. And then
Mhm.
I couldn't read during the day. I couldn't listen to anything. And Charlie Kirk got murdered. And then it
Mm.
was like,
Yeah.
I was not really like, you know, I did not want to be entertained by that kind of stuff right then, you know. And so it's just like, so
Yeah.
it definitely, it hampered my love for it a little.
Mhm.
It's still great. I
Yeah.
can definitely see why it's a lot of people's favorite. But yeah, I was like, oh, that kind of stunk. But you know, yeah,
For sure.
I can go on a Rockio, uh, they've Sam and Matt
Yeah.
and my buddy Doug and all these guys. They're like, they pretty much turned me into like a Rockioite at this point.
Hey, I'm on my way there.
All right, what about you? You have one?
Yeah. So this is actually have it here. The Dog
Ooh,
Stars. I talk about Peter
yeah.
Heller and his books all the time. I got it's just about the 40% mark of that book. And he has a really like Cormac McCarthy type
Hmm.
of like prose, very
Hmm.
lyrical, which I do enjoy. Um, but there was a point in this book that something happened, and I literally threw the book across the room. I was so mad that what he what he did in this book, uh, that I literally I think I didn't even touch it for I think I sold the book, and I was like, I'm done.
You know, you're not upset with
I'm not doing this again. And
it.
then I ended up watching an interview with the author talking about
Hmm.
the book. I don't remember why, if I looked it up or if it just came across my YouTube feed. And he has like something that he brings to like one of his like his presentations, um, and he was talking about it. And the way he was talking about it made me feel like what he did was intentional to the story.
Mm,
So I was like, all right, let me try to pick this back up again. So I think I just rented it from the library. I
mm,
had it on my Kindle. I read it the rest of the book in a day and a half, and the way he ended it paid such a homage to what he did earlier that made me so
mm,
mad. That just it was just super emotional.
mm.
And it literally brought me to tears. And yeah, from then on, I was like, this is my guy. I'm
Yeah.
getting every single book that he has. I think he had 4 more books already out, and then he was about to release a new one. So I pre-ordered that, and I just blew through all of his other books, and I haven't looked back.
I've got, I
It's
know I mentioned it a few months ago, but I have The River queued up
oh, do
for
you? Okay,
December. Yeah. So I was like,
that
I kind
is
of I wanted one of those because I was like, which one? And you're like, probably The River. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
I'll go with that. And then I've kind of tried to figure out where I'm going to put it. And I think December is just going to be my one off,
Mhm.
mood read, whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I've got a few of those that I can just kind of pick up, sit down, maybe finish in a sitting or two. That's
Yeah.
hopefully is my plan.
Okay, yeah. Let me know what you think about the river.
Okay.
As always, I do like to preface like he does have some heavy language in his
Yeah.
books, but it's the relationships that he writes that
Mhm.
really sell it for me.
Mm.
So yeah, the river I think is actually my favorite book of his.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there some is there somewhere else that I should start? Or am I starting at the
I think you should start there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the his best written story,
Okay.
in my
All
opinion.
right. I've got an all right. Here's number 8 is what's the worst book that you finished this year?
I already talked about it. It's Elevation by Stephen King.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I guess I think I started reading it last year, November, and I didn't.
Mhm.
I think I did put it down, and I picked it up the beginning of the year. I think
Mhm.
January. It was like the first week of January, it might have been, and I did finish it in like one sitting,
Mm.
and it was like the worst way to start the year.
Yeah, mine my first read of the year was a DNF too. I'm like, well, this we'll see how this goes.
Here
Of
we
course,
go.
yeah, and this was the year I decided to start putting videos on YouTube, and I'm
Right.
like, yep, right out the gate, let's start DNFing books. Mine was the I guess you'd call it like the community pick when I did the judging books by their covers. It was Pinata by Leopoldo Gout.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
it was not great. It had some really cool elements to it. It had like he definitely did a good job of writing horror, of like giving you that
Hmm.
real sense of dread all the time. Um, I think he kind of leaned, like I was talking about earlier with Stephen King, like he leaned a little bit into like let me talk to you about the grotesque elements, which I think were pertinent at times,
Hmm.
but it was like you could tell that there were some things that he did with children that was just like trying to be edgy and stuff, and so he just
Yeah.
kind of went overboard. But then a lot of it didn't make sense, like. Just as a for instance, she finds this pinata in these ancient ruins. So it had a very similar feel to, I think it was called The Ruins, the movie The Ruins,
Oh
which I know
yeah.
is based off the book.
Yeah.
It had like it had a very similar feel to it. So I was like, oh, this will be creepy, and it was.
Hmm.
The first chapter, I was pretty hooked.
Yeah.
It's pretty horrific. It was, and somehow being able to actually elicit a jump scare in writing like that, it was well done.
Interesting. Okay.
But there was a clay pot that they found in these ruins, these old mine ruins that had like pieces of of multiple sacrifices in them, and then because
Okay.
of that, it had some sort of like evil spirit that sort of possessed
Got
that, and
loose.
then would try,
Yeah.
yeah, and then would try to possess an individual, in this case a little
Okay.
girl. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so they're down in Mexico, but they live in New York, and so they fly back to New York,
Hmm.
and the little girl sneaks the clay pot in her backpack. And so I was like, okay, we went into some really intricate detail and explanation
Hmm.
of uncovering the ruins of her this woman's job and why and the setup. But you don't think TSA would catch that? You know, like for
Yeah.
some reason it just didn't. He was like, and it was very Star Wars-esque, where it's like, and somehow
Okay.
Palpatine returned. It was like, and somehow she got this
Okay.
there. Yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
she got the clay pot home, and you're like, okay, the TSA didn't open a backpack, they didn't check,
Mhm.
they didn't wonder why it was seeping out a black liquid from the backpack on the plane. Nobody's asking questions here, you know, like
Yeah.
it just was like it really pulled me out of it. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
that's dumb. Like that's dumb. It doesn't make sense. That's okay. I can suspend belief. And then we kept going, and I was just like, it just was not it just was not a
Yeah.
satisfying end. There were a couple cool elements to it, but I was like, okay, I'm going to finish this because I said I would, but otherwise I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right. Number 9. I think that's
Number
you.
9. Okay. What is a book or series you loved but didn't
Oh,
like the ending?
okay. This is going to be I guess it's called the Serial Killer series, or the John Cleaver series by Dan Wells,
Mm.
the I'm Not a
Okay.
Serial
Yeah.
Killer.
Yep.
Man, the first 3 books are it's some of my favorite writing of all time.
Okay.
It's pretty dark. I don't know
Mhm.
why it gets labeled YA. It's definitely horror. So
Okay.
like it's very Dexter-esque, where
Okay. Yeah.
a kid has some weird like psychological things going on, to where he kind of has the urge to commit violent acts. And
Mhm.
it doesn't help that his single mother runs a funeral home, and the morgue is there and
Interesting.
all that stuff. Yeah, so it's a it's a little weird. So he has set up rules for himself to keep himself from doing anything, because he studies these he has studied all these famous serial killers,
Mhm.
and so he's able to kind of show commonalities between all of them, all these different common traits that he can see
Mhm.
within himself. And so he set up rules for himself to make sure he doesn't ever cross that line, which is like,
Mhm.
don't ever be alone with somebody of the opposite sex. Don't ever be
Yeah.
out of your home past 9 o'clock at night, these kinds of things. So I think he's
Mhm.
like 17, 18. I know he's in high school. And the story ends up being that a murder takes place in this small town. And
Okay.
he's, when they get the body to the morgue, he realizes that something's off, and it ends up being this crazy supernatural thing. And so,
Interesting.
yes, it's the first book is really, really good, and it's not spoiling anything. It's not like,
Mhm.
oh, you just ruined it, because it's not spoiling. It's pretty early on. But he ends up going, okay, I can break all of my rules to hunt down this serial killer. And it's a monster of some kind, because technically I'm not causing any harm to other humans. I'm actually protecting them. And so
Okay.
like after the first book, dude, I was so sold. And then the third book
Mhm.
ended for me perfectly. It was like, and they're so short. Anyway,
Mhm.
excellent books. And then he did a second trilogy, and
Okay.
it became like, each book became, let's hunt a monster. Let's hunt a monster
Okay.
and try to reel in my psychotic episodes and things, or at least redirect them. So it
Yeah.
was that real cool wrestling. Anyway, when you get to book 4, it becomes, let's sympathize with the bad guy. And so it's like, well,
Okay.
he's not really bad. It's just their nature. And so, like, am I really the evil one for killing them, even though they're
Mhm.
killing cities, like full cities of
Right.
people? And then,
Okay.
so by the end of the book, or the end of the series, it ended in the worst way. It literally, I mean, I guess it should have been a red flag for me with Stormlight as well, because
Mhm.
I know a lot of people are dissatisfied with Kaladin's ending.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, he became a therapist, and that's kind of what happened here. It was just like,
Okay.
well, instead of hunting the monsters, I'm gonna sympathize with them and see if I can help them. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it made no
Just
sense.
a massive pivot to what, like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
character was. Yeah.
It seemed to me like that Dan Wells, 2 things. Like, I know that he wrestles with some, like, serious depression,
Mhm.
anxiety
Yeah.
stuff, um, and it seems like the that he started getting treatment for that right in between those 2 trilogies.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it seemed like he was almost writing, um, as part of his, like, healing process. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
It
Sure.
definitely kind of projected some of that into it. But then the other
Mhm.
part was, I think that the publisher was that those books sold so well, which they actually didn't do well in the United States, but
Mhm.
his trilogy actually sells better than Sanderson's does. Like in, I know in Mexico, pretty much all of South America, but in Mexico,
Okay.
Colombia, like for some reason, he's like this huge star down there, and they don't care for Sanderson at all, which is weird. But anyway, so they're like, hey, we need to put out some more books. So can we contract you to write more of this guy's story? And it just sort of seemed
Okay.
like maybe he ran out of an idea and kind of ran with it.
Mhm.
But yeah, that one definitely fell flat for me. What about
Fair
you? You
enough.
got one that you're like, eh.
Um, so I guess I probably should have mentioned this earlier. One of my other bad habits is starting series and not finishing them. But and I technically have not finished this, but the Walking Dead
Mm,
graphic novels,
yeah.
I know everything that happens in this last volume, and I understand why Robert Kirkman wrote that ending,
Mm,
um, but it just fell really flat, in
mm-hmm,
my opinion. Like it just kind of just cut and like we're done with the story. Like there was
mm,
not a lot of resolution in
mm,
certain characters. It just ends,
mm.
you know. Um, so that's probably the one I didn't like the most. Yeah, it's just kind of flat,
Yeah.
and
I
it
actually,
also got spoiled for me.
oh
That's
man.
why I haven't even read the this volume because I just everything got spoiled. I was like, oh, well, I might as well just read a you know quick synopsis.
Yep. Yep. All right. Number 10. We're getting there.
Make it away.
It's my fault. Okay.
Number 10, I'll just go for it. What
Okay.
is a book or series that you DNF that you want to try again?
I've got Orphan X by Greg Hurwitz. Um,
Okay.
Ted, who used to have a channel, but he's a good friend of mine. We talk pretty
Hmm.
regularly, but he loved the Orphan X series, and he pitched it as, imagine, it's like Batman meets the Bourne Identity. And so he's
Okay.
like, imagine Jason Bourne has Batman's budget, but instead of being chased, that he's the pursuer. I'm like, okay, cool, sounds good. And
Interesting.
I read the first book, and it was, man, it was so good. It was stellar. And then I read, there's a little novella that was sort of like a prequel, but it was supposed to fit between books 1 and 2. And it
Hmm.
got a little more brutal. It's pretty heavy. Like there's some pretty
Hmm.
weighty topics there. Um, like I think they're like the premise is that he has an alias as the Nowhere Man. So this guy has some sort
Okay.
of special forces training. He's like, black ops type trained kind of guy. And they train them so that way he could go and do these crazy ops overseas and all this stuff. And he just abandons it one day. And so now he's using his skills to go and help people. So if he sees somebody in need, he'll give them, like, I think the first person he gave like a phone number, and that's all it was. It was just a phone number. It says, if you need help, call this number and I'll take care of it. And then afterwards, I think he ended up having to, I think there were some like trafficking issues going on or something. And so they asked, like, how can we repay you? And he said, all you do is you find somebody else that genuinely needs help. Not that, hey, I need you to pay a bill. That somebody is in fear for their lives, is in serious danger. Hand them my phone number and have them call me. That's it. And so then you just kind of travel through
Hmm.
these cases almost that he's working, and then you realize they're kind of all tied in together. And so the first book was great. The second book was like a very sort of like his first case, which was cool. So
Okay.
you get a little bit of backstory, and then I read book 2, and it's kind of ramping up that underlying big bad guy.
Hmm.
And it got really, really graphic. There's a really
Hmm.
graphic adult scene in there where a guy who is, I've tried to describe him as like Jaws from 007. Like he's the big bad
Okay. Yep.
that has infinite funds, and so he realizes because he has access to everything that nothing really has. He doesn't really have a desire for anything anymore because nothing's off limits. And so
Hmm.
there's this really, really graphic scene with uh and a variety of peoples. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just like, whoa, like I get what you're doing, but I don't think I need to
I
go
don't need
into the
that.
detail. Yes. And so
Yeah.
it was one of those where I put down and I didn't come back to it. And so I
Yeah.
think I would like to see if maybe I can just skip that part. Which
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily one that's like, oh, I'll just skip this or whatever. But the
Mm-hmm.
story is so good, and I get that what he's doing. He's not doing it just to be explicit. He's doing it to
Yeah.
show you how debased this guy is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if that's the case,
Makes
maybe I
sense.
can just like skip over that, or maybe switch to audio and see if that'll change things up. But that is
Yeah.
definitely one that I think I want to go back to.
Okay.
What about you? Do you got one that you've put down and
Yeah. Yeah. So this is I have Metro 2033
oh
based off of the video
uh-huh.
game.
Yep.
The creator of the video game actually wrote the novelization. It's
Mm,
not like a direct like novelization of the game, but it's kind of within it. But it's translated from Russian, I believe.
mm,
So I tried a couple of times restarting it, and the translation is just a little wonky for me. I'm also a really slow reader,
mhm,
so sometimes I'll see a word, I'll just keep reading and reading and reading, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. That's kind of what was happening with this book, but I do love post-apocalyptic stories.
mhm,
So this is one I definitely want to get back into and finish. But yeah, the translation into English was just a little too rough for me. Um, Back when I started reading it, it may have been 2 years ago or something.
mhm.
But yeah,
That's the way The
nothing about the
Witcher.
story. Yeah, The
Have
Witcher is very similar. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's what like, I read the
yeah,
first book, and it was
yep.
cool because you have those, like, different stories, like, that was
Hmm.
cool, and I love the, monster hunting stuff, like, that's
Hmm.
what I was here for, and
Same.
I'd played the game
Yeah,
a little bit, and so I was like, "Oh, man, this is crazy," like, and there's the novel so obviously the novels are gonna be good, and it
yeah.
was yeah, the translation was weird, it was just like it's almost like matter of fact. It was like, "This is this thing,"
Yeah,
and
right.
I get that, but then when it started getting off on like I think I read the first 2, maybe 3 books, and it just kinda got off on Siri a lot, which I wasn't
Hmm.
disinterested, but I
Sure.
would have been way more interested if it would have been Siri and Geralt. But it was just like, okay, now we're just gonna
Okay.
talk about Siri and her
Hmm.
history, and I'm like, okay, where's The Witcher in this book,
Right.
And
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
yeah, and so I put them on pause, and then I started listening to Mike, and maybe I shouldn't because we actually disagree on a lot of
Okay.
like my preferences, but it's part of the reason
Hmm.
why I go to him because I'm like, okay, he's going to throw stuff out there that I wouldn't think of, and
Sure.
but we were very similar on The Witcher as far as he's like the translation's a little wonky, and we don't really see Geralt, and so and that
Hmm.
progresses through the story. I'm like, well, if that's the case,
Right.
maybe I guess I just need to enjoy the game as it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
translations are a very tricky business, I guess, to have to
Hmm.
try to get into to be able to evoke the same
Yeah.
emotions. And
Yeah.
so then you have to wonder, it's like, okay, is the writing poor or is the translation poor?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Or is it something a little bit of both in certain
yeah,
areas?
yeah, hmm,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's no, it's
100%.
hard. Yeah.
Okay, so how far do you tend to get into a book before deciding it isn't for you?
Man, usually it's no more than a quarter of the way through
Mhm.
that I become pretty disinterested in it. Like I said before, I tend to just follow through, and I should
Yeah.
be DNFing more books more often. But there, most of the time, it's been at least about a quarter of the way through,
Mm,
if not at least close to the halfway mark.
yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm like 20-25%. If you
Hmm.
don't grip me by 15%, there's red flags going
Yeah,
up. But I'll give you to 20 to 25. But if I get 25% of the way through and I'm just like not into it. I think it's just time for me to move on.
yeah,
There's been a few recently where I'm like, okay, this is okay, this is fine, and then everybody's like, it picks up at like the 80% mark. I'm like, is it worth it? Maybe I
yeah.
don't know, but I mean that's if you're if you're a slow reader like I am as well, or
Mhm.
you're listening on audio and you can't listen at 2.5 times speed like some of these guys or whatever,
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah.
time I'm 1, maybe 1.2 if depending on the
Okay.
narrator. And so I'm like, if I'm sitting here and I've got to invest, it's a 40-hour book on Audible, and I got to wait, 30 hours into the book for it to pick up.
Yeah.
That's 30 hours that I could spend on something, 2 or
Mhm.
3 other books probably. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Side tangent, when you mentioned
No, hit me.
audio speeds, I typically am like a 1.65 for most.
That's pretty
Uh,
fast. That's fast for me.
it is pretty fast, and I've I was just talking to a friend of mine because I was showing him the difference between me listening at that speed and the normal like
Oh yeah.
speed,
Yeah.
and it was just like a crazy difference. But as I was like showing him the 1.65, I was like, honestly, that's a little bit too fast. Comprehension. Like I can hear every word that's being said, but am
Yeah.
I retaining
Yeah.
every single word? So I probably should be adjusting that depending on the narrator too.
One of my like he might be my favorite narrator of all time just because of who he is, but Andy Serkis did
Oh
Lord of the
yeah.
Rings.
Oh yeah.
Man, so that's so good,
Absolutely.
so I was sitting there listening because I wanted to revisit Lord of the Rings, I think last year, and I'm like, you know what? This would be a great audiobook. And so I waited for the Andy Serkis ones to come
Hmm.
out because they're pretty new at the time. And so
Yeah.
I get into Fellowship, but he is so intentional and he draws every syllable out. I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, this book is literally 62 hours long and it's not a very thick book. And so I moved
Yeah.
it up to 1.2 and it was just right. It was actually like
Okay.
somebody normally talking, and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but every once in a while I get to a chapter, like, when they're in Rivendell and stuff, I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm going to back up because I want to hear, it was way better in my opinion to hear him like drawing out like especially when they're speaking
Yeah.
Elvish and stuff. It was like,
Yeah.
it was just a different experience. But then when I'm reading Dresden or I'm listening to Dresden,
Hmm.
and James Marsters, he's probably my
Hmm.
favorite,
Okay.
just because I've listened to him the most.
Yeah.
But he starts spitting these out, and Jim Butcher's writing is pretty basic, it's not super
Hmm.
flowery. So I'm like, I can
Yeah.
crank this up to 1.5, 1.6 and be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And miss something with you miss something with Dresden, you're like, that's fine. I'll catch it later.
Yeah, yeah. There's not a lot of there's a lot more of just not fluff, but like yeah, you can
Yeah.
just miss certain things that doesn't necessarily pertain to the
Hmm.
overarching story
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. All
And
right.
technically the
Uh,
last one, I guess.
yeah. So, what book or author brought you out of a reading slump?
I cheated and picked two again. Because
Fair enough.
that's how I do. Because they were both this year, and so that reading
Okay.
slump that I had, the first one is Darth Maul Shadowhunter by Michael Reeves. It honestly is not the greatest book.
Hmm.
But it uh it did something that I didn't think would ever happen, which is it reignited my love for Star Wars because I was a huge
Hmm.
Star Wars nerd when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the only other person that I know that knows more about Star Wars than me is my wife. You know?
Oh
So
wow.
like she knows like Chewbacca's like nephews' names and stuff,
Wow.
which is
That's
awesome.
impressive.
Yeah, yeah. She watched all the little Ewok specials and all that kind of stuff.
Oh man.
But you know, Disney definitely, I think, drove that ship in the ground quite a bit. And so I was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
man, I tried to get into she bought me the Thrawn trilogy, like the Heir of the
Hmm.
Empire and stuff,
Yep.
because I kept hearing how great they are. And
Yep.
so she bought those for me a couple years ago for Christmas. And I just kind of couldn't get into them. And I think part of it was I'd become a little disillusioned with Luke and Han and Leia.
Hmm.
And so I'm reading about them. I'm like, okay, well, that's not really, these two things aren't lining up. And so I just had to take a break.
Yeah.
And I had not really read a Star Wars book since then. And so I was like, you know what? Jonathan Cohn keeps talking about
Hmm.
the Darth Maul shadow or the
Yeah.
Maul lockdown, I think. Yeah, this
Yeah.
one. And I was like,
I
that cover
yes.
looks sick. But he was like, but if you're going to read them, because I messaged him, he was like, read the other one first because not that you have to, but it will set the stage for this one. and
Okay.
this one's better. And so I want
Okay.
you to have like a progressive experience and not a regressive one. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And so I read it, and it was pretty good. But really,
Mhm.
what it did is it just gave me that same like love and nostalgia for Star
Mhm.
Wars that I had. And so to get
Yeah.
to follow Darth Maul being the pursuer and hunting people
Mhm.
down, super cool. Like I said, it's not the greatest. There's some like hokey, I don't know if you played any of like the um Old Republic type games, or what is
Oh
it?
yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic and stuff. So there's some like
Yep.
hokey monsters in there that kind of came from that
Mhm.
game, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it just gave me that feeling. So that's the first one. And the other one is Garden the Garden by ZS Diamani. That
Oh
one,
yeah.
um, it was exactly what I didn't know that I needed, because
Mhm.
everything I kept reading was really either, thought provoking or kind of deep, or you need to spend some time with, or and at that time I had DNF like 4 books in a row, and so I'm like, I really
Mhm.
just kind of want something that's fun, that's lighthearted, and I'm like, you know what, this looks okay. I know him a little bit. I've got to talk to him, so I'll try
Mhm.
this, and it was just super refreshing. It was like getting, when you're super stressed at work or something, you have a horrible
Mhm.
day and you can just kind of come home and sit outside for 10 minutes with quiet. Like that's kind of that feeling it gave me. So
Okay.
those
Yeah.
two in particular really, really brought me out of a reading slump. What about
Nice.
you, my
I
friend?
um so again, I kind of got two here, and they're both like one is kind of a constant book that I
Mhm.
go to help bring me out of any kind of slump, whether it's like a massive one or like I'm just kind of tired of just reading in general, but I want to like be do something productive that's not
Mhm.
just watching TV
Yeah.
or whatever. So that one is Bone by Jeff Smith,
Oh
the
yeah. I
graphic
saw you
novel.
mention that one.
Uh, I love this series. It's super accessible, great for a lot of ages. Um, the art is really good in it. It's very Lord of the Rings esque
Mhm.
story, but it's really funny. So it's got all these really great tropes in it that
Mm.
they're not expanded onto something grander like Lord of the Rings. So you can pick it up and read, one issue and be like, okay, I did something productive. I used my eyes
Right. Yes.
well. I comprehended something that wasn't just slop on TV. So I love going back to Bone just whenever I'm feeling that way. But when you mentioned Garden the Garden, it made me think of I don't know if this really brought me out of a slump, but it definitely had the same redeeming qualities as you
Mhm.
were talking about with Garden the Garden, and that is The Last Light of Edgewood
Oh yeah. Yeah.
by
Yeah.
Luke Boswell. I read that
Man,
on vacation this year, and I loved it. It was so refreshing. There was, it
if
had,
Luke is
good,
watching, I apologize that I haven't gotten to it yet. He sent me a copy. I plan to read it
yeah.
this month. It's just, but yes, I'm can't wait. And it's short too. And it's like
It
very
is really short, and it sets up, a
sure.
series for it, but um, it has good versus evil, but
Mm,
the characters are just really wholesome.
mm,
Um, there's just not too much depth and darkness in it, like a lot of the fantasy books
sure.
that we tend to pick up. And like I
Yeah,
said,
you don't
they always
always
have the
have to. Yeah, it's like I don't. You don't always have to sympathize with the bad guy. There can just
right,
be a bad guy. It's like, and he's
right.
evil, and it's like, well, why is he evil? I love the stories where we go into that, but you don't. It's like
Mhm.
he's evil because he's evil. Like that's
Right,
the
and that's
reason.
all there is. It's cut and dry.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of it.
Yes.
That's really
Yeah.
what that book is about. It's like,
Cool.
let's not jump into why it is this way, but like let's eradicate it. Just
Mhm.
so yeah. I think those two are probably like it's a bone is definitely like my go-to no matter
Cool.
what. And then the Last Light of Edgewood really
Graphic
very
novels,
lighthearted.
I just sleep on graphic novels for some reason, because every time I've read one, I enjoy them. I just kinda like because, I just don't have a
Hmm.
lot. Like,
Yeah.
last year, I think it was last year or maybe year before, The Last Ronin, the Ninja Turtles one, dude, that
Oh
was
yeah,
so
yeah.
good. And I
I
just
haven't read it,
forgot
but I
about it.
see it.
Oh
I
man,
see it every
it's
time I
killer.
go to like Barnes and Noble. I'm like, oh man, I just need to buy this.
Yeah, it is great. It is great. Plus, it stars my favorite Ninja Turtle of all time. So
Oh
it's like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I'm a little biased, but I don't care
that's
whatsoever.
okay.
You know.
That's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I sleep on graphic novels, so I'll make sure to add that one. Add that one
Yeah,
to the whole Amazon cart.
yeah. It was really funny because I grew up reading comics with my friend.
Hmm.
He's really big into like Marvel and DC
Hmm.
comics. But he read Bone as in his younger days, and I never read it. But we ended up going to a small convention here in Columbus, and Jeff Smith, author of Bone, was there, and he was like a late addition, and he was like his booth was like in the exhibition, like where all people are selling stuff. So he
Hmm.
wasn't even with like all the the famous people or whatever. And we just happened to be walking by, and my friend's like, "Oh, I know him. I'm gonna talk to him." And so I'm just sitting there like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know who this guy is."
Yeah.
Uh, and I got mad. I shook his hand, said hi, but then like a month later, I was like, "So what was that guy you were talking about? He wrote that one thing," and he's like, "Oh yeah, read that." I read it. I flew through it, and I was like, "Man, I wish I could have been able to talk to this author while I was there because I
Yeah.
loved it so much. It was so good."
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a couple of people, yeah, authors love talking to people, or at least some of
Hmm.
them. I guess I'll say that. So I've had a couple of them that have, not like, hey, I want to come on your channel, but they're like, hey, anytime you want to talk, I'm game. And I'm like, okay, I need to read your book first, because then I'm like,
Yeah,
so let's talk about the books that you've written that I haven't read yet. So
yeah,
like Jonathan was telling me quite a bit, like off camera. I think he was saying, he was like, well, there's been a few authors where they could only make it work like the next day or so,
yeah.
and so he's like, I had to stop what I was doing, and before I went to bed, I had to finish a book. I'm like, oh man, like you are
Yeah,
way better than me, because I've been like, well,
yeah,
I guess we're just gonna chit chat about nothing then.
yeah, yeah. I don't think
That's
I could do
awesome.
that.
All right. Well, the last one is we can tag three other people. I put who love to hate books just to just to be funny. I've got a few Andrew's Wizardly Reads. I know he loves to
Okay,
hate books, so I'd love to see him do this one. Josh over at Red Fury Books. He's one of the nicest guys
okay,
in the world. And then
yeah,
Andrew Watson. So those are going to be my
okay,
three.
yeah. I had a really tough time because I don't know. Maybe I just curate my
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
booktubers really well. But the one that channel that came up to me immediately was "To the Ramble" with Austin and
Oh
Rich.
man.
They love to
You just
hate
like
on
put me to
books.
shame. Dang. I should have thought
um,
about that. That's a good
Yes,
one. That's a
that's the
good
only one
shout.
I have. Yeah, "To the
Oh, well,
Ramble,"
it counts
Austin
as
and
2,
Rich.
so yeah.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
We
Fair
can
enough.
throw Sam in there. Yeah. It's
Oh,
like, yeah, well, it's like all of pretty much I don't like tagging people because I end up tagging the exact same people because it's the people that I
it's
talk
a
to. I'm like, I
yeah.
guess I'll tag Jordan and Sam and Matt and Doug and Preacher. It's like all
Yeah.
the people that I already talked to. So, yeah, man, that's a good shout. That would be cool if they did this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well,
Yeah, those guys
before
are
we
great.
go, for the people don't know, and Jordan doesn't know this, by the way. So I'm just gonna.
Oh, no.
So we talked yesterday. I mentioned I asked if you've been looking through the Rune Lords books, and I
Mhm.
and I told you that my local bookshop, used bookshop, they had one of them that you already have, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
what a bummer. Except I didn't tell you that they had
Oh,
a first
shoot.
edition copy, and it's coming
Whoa.
your way. So now
Oh, man.
it's a little
That's
broke in.
awesome. That's
Um,
okay.
let me see.
That's okay.
I was sitting there looking, and because I actually we're standing in the bookstore. Yeah, it's a first edition. So 1999 coming
Oh,
your
man,
way,
that's
my man.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I appreciate that so
Yeah,
much.
no problem at all.
I've been looking for that one for a long time.
That's what I was sitting there. Well, because I messaged you, but I didn't have good service where I was at, and so I'm like, man,
Okay.
he probably won't even get to see it. So I had to ask the lady at the store, and this is like, I mean, this is a little bookshop. It's like
Mhm.
one room, and I was like, hey, could I just real quick? Could I like jump on your Wi-Fi because I need to look at this video? And so I went to your bookshelf tour, and I'm like, okay,
Oh,
which
okay.
one does he not have? I'm like, all right, got it. And so I was telling
That's
the lady,
funny.
and she gave it to me for like next to nothing. And I was like,
Oh
so,
man.
and then the little bit, I think I paid like $3 for it. And then the little bit I
Oh
paid for
wow.
it, I had credit. So I was like,
Oh,
sweet.
hey,
So
score.
coming your way. The
Yeah,
only
I
downside
appreciate
is,
that.
yeah, man. The only downside is now that anytime I have somebody on, they're going to be expecting a book.
Oh man, yeah, you
I'm
set the
not-
bar real high for yourself.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, happy to do it, man. Thank you so much for coming on, spending for us.
Absolutely.
It's a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do this more frequently, hang out and
Yeah.
just chit chat. I appreciate you just so much over the course of the year, just in
Hmm.
general. I know we've
Same.
been able to talk back and forth, but getting to actually have conversations with you, man. This is why I kind of wanted to do it, to
Absolutely. Yeah.
get to
Same
talk to
here.
people. Well, thank you
Yep.
guys so much for watching. Appreciate each and every one of you. Consider yourself tagged, by the way. If you guys want to do this one, absolutely throw your name in the hat. I'd love to watch them. Everybody loves talking about negativity. So yeah, we love DNFs. So yeah, throw your name in the hat and tag us down below, because I'd love to watch them. But we'll make sure we'll put
Same.
all the links of all the people's in the description, and I'll definitely leave Jordan's channel. For anybody that doesn't know, which if you're watching this video, then you know Jordan's channel, because I've talked about him ad nauseum at this point.
Yeah.
But I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Jordan, thanks again, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And we'll
Take
see y'all
care.
on the next one.
Yep.